Hello, hello. Welcome to the Saturday stream. My name is James McCool, the owner of PaterDFS.com, and today we are going to be talking through the NFL main slate for tomorrow, as we do every Saturday, going over things like Vegas info and going through projections and going through stacks and going through correlations and leverage and all those fun things. We're going to be using a lot of the tools that I have over at the site. A couple of them are free, a couple of them are not free and require subscription, but you can always go back and watch this video if you feel like it. Most of these thoughts are a first look at the slate, as in, like, I've been building up projections and I know what my baselines look like and I kind of know what the projections look like, but for the most part, a lot of this stuff is pretty much a first look at the stacks and the Vegas info and everything like that. So we are going to be doing that. I'll answer any questions that I see in the chat. You may notice from weeks past that I'm at a slightly different angle this week. I have 3 monitors, and the monitor right now is on the right. So if I'm facing my screen, usually it is right here in front of me. It's over to the right today, and the reason for that is because as we come into fall, the sun is in the most annoying fucking position on the planet. Yeah, no, there's a lot of glare. You want to see worse glare? Hold on. I'll show you worse glare. Oh, that's actually... Okay, no. We're fine now. We're actually fine. So before, like, we had basically this much glare. That's what we were dealing with at first. So do you see how terrible this is? This is terrible, right? Yeah, this is awful. But now we don't have to worry about that. And you know what? Fuck you guys. Yeah, I've heard of blinds. Like, I know what the fuck a blind is, all right? But I don't have them up on my right window right now because I just don't. So just fight me, whatever. Fight me in an alley after a metal concert. I don't know. Anyway, so the blind situation, whatever. But this feels nice to be front and center. I am drinking a fruity beer today, so not wine or any hard liquor. I'm drinking something from Denver Beer Co. It's called Princess Yum Yum. So that's what I am. That's what I'm doing right now. It's not really that good. There's definitely some raspberry there. It's pretty fruity, but it's not very good. I don't like beer very much anyway. So I guess I can't really like say, oh well, I wish that this tasted like beer, because I don't wish that it tasted like beer. It just tastes like beer with, like, if somebody, like, burped a fruit into it. So that's what I'm dealing with today. Let's see, or a sheet over that. Yeah, fuck you, Zach. I mean, I could, but the problem is that I don't have one of the things, like a rod, like a curtain rod. So, like, I don't have anything to even put it up there, because I was going to do that before I started the stream, and I didn't. So, yeah. Yeah, whatever. Do I want to shame peanut M&Ms while I'm at it? Yeah, dude, peanut M&Ms suck. And I stand by that. Like, I don't think that they are the worst candy on the planet, but, like, under no circumstances would I be reaching for peanut M&Ms. You know, like, if I'm at King Soopers or if I'm at Kroger or whatever the hell you want to call it, and I'm standing there and I'm, like, gonna be buying my dish detergent and my cat litter and, like, I don't know, dinner or something like that, if I'm going to be buying those things, I'm standing there and, like, all that candy is staring me in the face, under no circumstances am I reaching for peanut M&Ms. Like, that's weird that people would actually reach for that. They're not even that good. If they weren't under the M&M moniker, people would hate them. They're not even a good candy. Like, I'm much more prone to picking, like, a Kit Kat or a York Peppermint Patty, or like a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup if I really want to hate myself. Like, there are such better candies than peanut M&Ms. And, frankly, if there's peanut butter M&Ms next to them, like, I'd much rather just have peanut butter M&Ms, because peanut M&Ms just suck. So, I don't care for peanut M&Ms. I think that they are mostly bad, and I think that people who defend them should feel bad. And that's just kind of the way that I feel about it. So, oh yeah, this should not be tilted like that. All right, let's see. We should probably get into the NFL slate. So, let's jump over. As usual, we're going to talk about Vegas info first. We're going to be looking at all the games from the live over-unders, the over-unders they are currently at. I'm going to kind of speed through them today and talk more about, like, the games themselves and the stacks as we jump into the actual projections. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so as usual, I am using the fantasylabs.com/Vegas NFL/Vegas tab. I think they do a really good job putting together over-unders and betting metrics that are easy to read and digest. So as we're looking here, the top over-under on the slate is the Chiefs and the Washington football team. I don't think... Is that on the slate? I don't think that it is. Oh, it is. Okay. Yeah, so, I mean, obviously, it's the Chiefs. Chiefs are, like, always in the top overall over-under. It's just the way that it works. It opened at 55.5. It's down 1 point. 40% of the bets are on the under, so some sharper money on the under there. 81% of people are on the Kansas City Chiefs to cover 6.5 or 7 over the Washington football team. This game actually should be a little bit closer than you would expect it to be. I mean, there's 6.5 point favorites. Washington is not good enough at passing to really stand up to them, I guess. 6.5 is probably the right line, though. I don't think they should be anything crazier than that. Moving on to the next game, we have the Bills and the Titans. This game is not on the slate. It wasn't a 54 over-under. It is a 53 now, with 46% of the bets on the under, so some sharper money on the under, but it's pretty split. So 76% of the bets on the Bills to cover 5.5, visiting the Titans. So getting 6 points on the road is pretty significant. Has moved farther towards them a little bit. I think it probably stays at about 6. Wouldn't surprise me. Bills deserve 6 points. Bills deserve probably 7.5 points on the road against the Titans. Dropping down, we have the Bucks in Philadelphia. That game already happened. Closed at 53. Bucks won because, of course, they did. Going to the next one, we've got the Chargers and the Ravens, which is an over-under of 51. Opened at 51.5. Has dropped down half point, 36% of the bets on the under. That's mostly just leveling things out. I wouldn't be surprised if it stayed at 51 or jumped up to 51.5. The Ravens are only 2.5 point favorites. It's pretty wild. 67% of the bets are on the Chargers on the road against Baltimore. So, I don't know, man. Baltimore is an incredible team. The problem with the Chargers is that I think that they are susceptible to getting scored on in ways that the Ravens want to move the ball. So, I don't know. 2.5 points for the Ravens. Really, really like the Ravens. Think that number should be at least 4.5. Like this, if this was a neutral field, this is basically saying that the Chargers are 1 point favorites or Chargers are 1 point better team than the Ravens, and I just don't buy that. I think this is at worst a coin flip, and at worst a pick'em. So the Ravens certainly should be getting more respect than that. I would take them money line there. I think the Ravens can win that game. Next game, we have Dallas and New England. So this game started at 48, has been bet up to 50.5. 44% of the bets on the over. So that's some significant movement with just 44% of the bets, especially since we're going into Saturday where a lot of betting is going to happen tomorrow. So some pretty notable sharp bets must be coming in on the over on this game, and I would agree with that. 78% of the bets are on the Cowboys to cover the 2 point spread that it opened at, and it's up to 3.5. The thing about the Patriots in this spot is one, the Patriots are a really good home team, even with Mac Jones at QB. But two, the Cowboys just they are bleeding passing yards. And Mac Jones, even though he's not a high upside quarterback, he's a smart quarterback at the very least. He might be conservative, but he makes good choices. The Patriots certainly deserve to be in this game. So a 50 over under, people are basically saying the Patriots are going to be able to hold their own and pass well against the Cowboys. That's what the books are saying. So 3.5 is really interesting here. I like the Patriots almost to win outright. I think that's what my models are saying, right? Yeah, my models have the Patriots to win outright here. So that's a really interesting spot. I think the Patriots have a good chance to win that game. let's see. I'm gonna cover two more games, and then I'll answer some questions. We have next game, which is the Rams at the Giants. Open at 48.5, has been bet up to 49.5 on split bets. 72% of the bets are on the Rams to cover 9.5, but it has actually dropped in favor of the Giants with only 28% of the bets. They've gone from 9.5-point underdogs to 8-point underdogs. Remember, that line is trying to move to that 7-point mark where people are either going to stay or push it past to 6.5. I think it probably closes at like 7.5. I don't think it stays at 8. But it's really interesting that it has moved that far. This is a West Coast team traveling East Coast for a morning game. That's always something to think about when you think about spreads and betting. So the Rams, they kind of looked fallible. And going up against Giants team that isn't very good, I could see this line closing at like 7.5. I don't think that the Giants will win, but I think that this line certainly is really, really interesting, especially from a DFS standpoint for game stacking. Next game we have is the Cardinals and the Browns. Opened at 54, dropped down to 48.5. That is fucking huge. That's a gigantic drop. 45% of the bets on the under, down almost a touchdown. It is mostly just based on probably the coaching situation for the Cardinals, where they're going to be without Cliff Kingsbury and they're going to be without their QB coach. It's going to be Vance Joseph, who coached the Broncos and was terrible in that role, likely calling plays. So Cardinals should be hamstringed this week. The Browns are a very good team when they are able to control the flow of the game, so them being slightly larger favorites here, 3.5 points, bet up 0.5 point. Pretty interesting. The Browns are going to be in a really good spot here to run the ball and control the tempo. It's going to make Kareem Hunt a fantastic DFS play, but you don't need me to tell you that. All right. Couple questions. So add the Ravens to the betting slip. Yes. I think, at the very least, I think the Ravens should be bigger favorites. They should be like 4.5 point favorites, I think. 2.5 points. That's just insulting. For a team with Lamar Jackson, who was an MVP and then wins a playoff game, and then last week throws for 400 yards, overcomes a 19-point deficit to win the game. Like, I know that Justin Herbert's really, really good, but Lamar Jackson leading that Ravens team and them getting Rashad Bateman, and they're just so good. They're just such a good, solid team. Just surprised that they are only 2.5 point favorites. So yeah, I'd bet them. What do I think of Ertz in Arizona rest of season? Fucking love it. Absolutely love it. I think that he probably shreds a lot of the fantasy value of AJ Green. I think that he likely takes on a lot of the AJ Green role. And I think he even takes a little bit from DeAndre Hopkins. The problem with Hopkins' role this year has been that he's been kind of used as a possession guy and not so much as a high upside guy. They've been using Christian Kirk and they've been using Rondale Moore as these high upside options and using DeAndre Hopkins as a way to make sure that they secure the sticks and that they move the ball. So Zach Ertz fills that role really, really well. He fills the red zone really well to take away from AJ Green. So I think he probably hurts them the most, but I think he probably ends up with a 15+% market share for them. And then likely a lot of the red zone work as well. I could see like a 15-20 split of target share and red zone target share. So really excited about him rest of the season. I think he rounds out that roster really, really well. Lamar season tomorrow, tough to get away from Manesi. Absolutely. I think that especially with no Sammy Watkins, right? Like, he's pretty much just going to be teeing in on either Mark Andrews or Marquise Brown all game. He just looks really, really good in that spot. I think there are better ways to go in terms of stacking, but you're facing the Chargers, who might be without Mike Williams. It just makes the easiest skinny stack in the world of Lamar Jackson, Marquise Brown, and Keenan Allen. So easy. All right, last question. Would I ever flex tight end if I wanted to go cheap over wide receiver Jones, Arnold type pairing? No. I think that going, the only way that you go double tight end is if you use a combination of two elite tight ends, and even then it's really, really thin. Wide receivers just typically have a lot more upside. Running backs typically have a better floor. Like, you can just do better than doing two tight end. It's not worthwhile, especially in DFS. Like, it's not a winning strategy this year. All right, let's jump back in. So next game that we just covered Cardinals Browns, is the Bengals and Detroit, and this game is weird. It's a 48 over under. It's been bet up from 47.5, 43% of bets on the over. It is a 3.5 point favorite for the Bengals on the road against Detroit. Detroit looks competent, right? Like, they don't look good, but they look competent, and they're in games, and they're losing these heartbreakers, and they're losing these really, really close games, and the Bengals are winning these really, really close games. So, you got to think that eventually variance is going to turn in the way of the Lions. I wouldn't be surprised if the Lions won this game. Like, I have questions about the Bengals. I think that Joe Burrow is a stud. I think Jamar Chase is a stud, but I just have questions about their ability to continue winning these close games. So something's got to give here. I wouldn't be surprised, I guess, if the Bengals were to win by a decent margin. I don't necessarily respect the Lions coach, but they certainly look like a football team at the very least. They look better than like a high school team, which I thought they were going to look like going into the year. So I've been impressed with them, but they're still not good. And on the next one, we have the Jaguars and the Dolphins, and this is the London game, right? Pretty sure that's the London game. Next game, we have the Vikings and the Panthers. Oh, no. Zach, help me. Oh, God. How do I do this? Ban. I did it. Anyway, I don't hate Cincy. Yeah, so the Vikings and the Panthers, it opened 47.5, dropped down 45.5. 2 points down is pretty significant. The Vikings actually opened as 1.5 point underdogs and have been bet forward to 2.5 point favorites. So this is something that we call reverse line movement, where not reverse line movement, it's a flop. So if a team opens up as an underdog and then is a favorite, like, that's a significant shift, because that means that there has been enough smart money and enough sharp money to come in to make the books change their mind on a team being an underdog or a favorite. So the Vikings should come into this game being solid favorites. I wouldn't be surprised if that line gets bet up to 3 or 3.5. Dalvin Cook's back, so putting him into this spot seems pretty good. Yeah, the Panthers 2.5 point underdogs. That's not great, but we'll have some things talked about from a DFS standpoint there as well. Let's see. I do not hate Cincy. You can still ping Shelton. I love Shelton. Ping him all the time. Is Colts safe pick in Survivor Pool? I mean, yeah, because you're probably not going to have that many more chances to take the Colts, right? Because the Colts are a pretty bad team. So take them here again against the Texans for sure. Let's see. Thanks, Chris. Thank you. Messed up my questions. Yep. All right. Let's go on to the next game. So we have the Green Bay Packers at the Chicago Bears. 46 over under, dropped down to 44. 2 points down. Again, relatively significant. A lot of it is just dropping for the Chicago Bears, though. The Packers went from 4.5 point favorites to 6 point favorites. 75% of the bets, favorite bet. It's a public bet, so whatever. I don't really care that much about it. The Bears are basically forced to start a rookie running back in this situation, and they're a team that likes to run the ball a lot, so that might actually matter. The Raiders at the Broncos. Yay, fun game. 44 over-under has sat pat with split bets. The Broncos are 4 point favorites with 57% of the bets over the Raiders. What does the model say about this one? Let's see. Oh, Las Vegas should be favorites here. Las Vegas, like, almost assuredly should be favorites here. So I would definitely be betting the Raiders here as underdogs, especially at 4 points. You could even take the 4 points if you wanted to, but I'd rather just bet them straight up. I think they win this game. Texans and the Colts. It's fucking gross, man. 43.5, bet down to 43. 39% of the bets on it. The Colts are 10.5 point favorites. Yeah, man. I mean, it's Texans, man. Like they're bad. It's a bad team. Colts are a bad team too, but I understand why they're 10-point favorites. They did show life. Like Davis Mills actually showed life last week. But I don't know, man. This is a weird game. The Seahawks and the Steelers. This is the lowest over-under on the slate at 42.5. 38% of the bets on the under. It has moved down half a point, but whatever. It's half a point on a 43 over-under. The Seahawks went from 3.5-point underdogs to 5.5-point underdogs. It's a public bet to take the Steelers here. Yeah, there's probably some upside in betting on EJ Manuel, or not EJ Manuel. Who's the quarterback for the Seahawks this week? I don't remember. But yeah, there's probably some upside on betting on the Seahawks here. The Steelers suck, man. If they're going to be dependent on their running game when their passing game is broken, like, I don't know. I think this game's trap game. It's trap game. And yeah, it's not on the main slate, but I still wanted to say that it's trap game because I hate the Steelers. Let's see. If Gordon sits, play Javonte. Yeah, I mean, Javonte would be fine. I don't have a problem with that. I think the Jaguars beat the Dolphins. I also think they beat the Dolphins. I think that Tua Tagovailoa is a bad quarterback. He's just not going to work. I think Anderson will ever go off. Carolina's saying they want to feed him. Yeah, I mean, he's gotten one less target than DJ Moore in the last couple weeks and is crushing him in air yards. Like, if we go over and we look at the air yard search, which is free on the site, by the way, go over to the team comp and take a look at Carolina. We'll go target percentage first. And then, like, last week, Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore had the same. Robbie Anderson only 1% less than DJ Moore the week before. When we're looking at air yards, like, DJ Moore is outpacing him. Robbie Anderson is pacing the team. And outside of 1 week, Robbie Anderson has at least as many air yards as DJ Moore does. So, like, yeah, Robbie Anderson he's due to get there. So my guess is that Ben the Better actually wins some head-to-heads this week, I would guess. But I don't know. We're going to see. Let's see. Does Metcalf and Lockett take a hit with Geno? Yeah, absolutely. Geno Smith. Let's see. Wilson is so good given the few plays Seattle run. Yeah, I mean, Wilson is great. Let's see. James went live before I could ping him about it. I ping him and I mean to give him a hard time. Yeah, I mean, there's some mistakes. Whatever. Fight me. It's a 7K defense because it is on a showdown slate, which I have put into the models already. When I run the models, I have every single game. I have all of the baselines there. I just pick and choose which games to run. So that's why that's like that. Given game totals, there seems to be very few stacks worth considering. Yeah, so let's go take a look at that, right? So if we take a look at this, like, this 54.5 is really high. And then we have a 51 with the Chargers and the Ravens, which should be another popular game. And then we have 50.5. And we really only have 3 games with an over-under above 50 here. And this Chiefs-Washington game is by far the highest. Chiefs defense has just been putrid. Washington, I think, should be able to take advantage of it. But, like, who knows, man? And then after that, like, we're kind of getting these middle runs. The one thing that is worth saying here is that we don't really have any games that are absolute avoids. Like, no, I'm probably not touching this Colts-Texans game, but you can stack the Raiders against Denver and bring back Cortland Sutton. You can stack Green Bay and bring back Darnell Mooney or Allen Robinson. Like, you can stack a lot of these games, right? Obviously, the medians are going to like this 54.5 over-under way more. But, like, I think there's a lot of upside in a lot of these games. I think there's reasons to take things like this Rams and Giants game at 49.5. There's reason to go with, a Bengals stack, bring back TJ Hawkinson. I think that there are a lot of ways to go about things this week. I think that the better way of saying it, it's not necessarily that there are, less stacks to be considered. I just think that when you look at it, there are less games that you can truly eliminate. So it's important to know the difference between those two things. There's nothing like last week. I just straight up was not going to stack the Steelers Broncos. I straight up was not going to stack like the Patriots Texans. Like there were games that you just should not stack. So this week I think we have a lot more options. Let's see. Surprised we didn't get another tally to FU Zach counter there. We'll get there. It's a long stream. Am I team Darrell Williams or team Herbert Bears? I don't know, dude. I don't care about Darrell Williams. What do I think about Herbert? He should catch some passes. He'll be fine for DFS. I mean, I'm sure that we'll talk about him. Like, I think he's projected pretty well. What do I have him projected? Yeah, he's 4,600. I have him projected for 12.67, ceiling 23. It's pretty good. I think he's going to be very popular, but he should be very popular. Like when you go through the projections here, like there's really no reason to pay too much higher than like 6,600. I guess like this range. Like you can pay for Dalvin Cook, but meh. You can pay for Aaron Jones, but meh. You can pay for Zeke, but meh. There are so many good mid-range options, right? So we'll just see how it goes. Got burnt last week stacking Philly versus Carolina. That was total bust as I burnt myself. Yeah, I mean, I didn't like that game all that much just because I was low on Philadelphia. But, you know, I liked Chuba Hubbard. That there were reasons to like some individual players in that game. All right, one or two more questions, and then we got to get into the actual stacks. Do I look at game totals and then the opponent yards against as a good starting place? Not really. I look mostly like I mostly just want to look at the Vegas info first. We'll zoom in. So I'll look at the Vegas info and I'll look to see if there are any games that I can just straight up cancel out. So like I'll usually actually start here. So like I know that I'm not gonna have any exposure to this Texans Colts game. I know that I will likely have very minimal to no exposure to this Bengals-Lions game. But, like, and I'll probably have nothing of this Cardinals-Browns game. And then the rest I can consider. So then I will go over and I'll look at my projections and I'll look in the stacks. And I'll look and see, okay, well, of those other ones that I am considering stacking, what looks best? Okay, so to start the slate with Kansas City, see if I can afford them. If I can't, drop down to the next one to see if I can afford that one. All right, Baltimore looks better. Drop down to the next one, you know, and then I'll go down this list and I'll kind of try to build in the roster construction tool and build up some lineups and see how much it costs to stack each team and how much it costs to stack different things. But, like, for the most part, I just want to look at Vegas info and then I want to look at the stacks page. And then I'll look at red zone splits, and I'll see which teams are passing the most in the red zone because that's really important for me for stacks. Kansas City's up here. Chargers are up here. Green Bay is kind of up here, but not all that high. So, yeah, that's mostly what I do. And then I just try to build out some stacks in the roster construction tool. Let's see. Diami Brown or Carter for cheap if out? I mean, Diami Brown is fine. It's a good matchup, but I don't really have an opinion there. You want to stack Heineke, McLaurin, Jones, but Terry now Q. I mean, Terry's been Q. I think he plays. I don't think he would worry about that. Hubbard looked really good. CMC out till week 9. Yeah, he looked great. I've been really high on Chuba Hubbard, and projections have really liked him. Kansas City top stack. We need a lot of value plays. Wish Tony's 4K again. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, if you can afford Kansas City, you're stacking him this week. Njoku week, if Hunt is major chalk. I like Njoku. I don't think he's bad. You say you won't have any pieces. Does that mean non-stacks also? So you would not have Taylor Hunt? I absolutely will have Hunt. I just won't stack it. So, like, I go through and I try to eliminate stacks first. Like, running backs, I don't really care. If a running back projects really well and is priced appropriately or too cheap, like, I'll have interest in them. But for the most part, like, I just want to eliminate stacks first. Because everything starts with stacks. You should never go into a week and go into building your lineups and think, who do I want to play? Because that's the wrong way to do it. Like, individual players are not going to win you anything. You have to nail your stacks, and you have to nail the games that actually go off in order to have a chance. So, certainly want to put together your stacks first, and then fill in the rest with, like, like secondary correlations and upside plays and good ceilings and stuff like that. The last thing I'll say about that is like never play a player that has a ceiling less than 20. It's just, they can get there for sure, but like they probably won't get there. So, and yeah, we'll talk about Tony soon. But yeah, it's so funny that you were like, oh, well, shouldn't I play Tony instead of John Ross last week? And I was like, no, dude, John Ross has a higher ceiling. And then Tony breaks fucking OBJ's rookie record with the Giants. It's like, oh, well, all right. Life is hard, man. All right, we're gonna jump into some stacks here, and we're gonna talk a little bit about the actual slate. I'm gonna try to get all the way through all the stacks before I answer questions, and then I will answer questions before we go into the actual player discussion. So, yeah. All right, so at the top, obviously, we have Kansas City. It's always Kansas City at the top. They always project super duper well, and it's because Mahomes, Hill, and Kelsey all project basically at the top of each of their individual positions every single week. It's basically impossible for them not to with how skinny the tree or how narrow the target tree is there and how much they pass. So, yeah, Kansas City, super duper high. I don't need to say anything else about that. The question is, what do we do with Washington? Because that's the other question here. I don't know if you can even do a Kansas City stack with like how little value there is. Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelsey. And then you'll bring it back to Terry McLaurin. And like, bro, that's $30,900. You have an average of $3,800 remaining per player. I legit don't even know if it's possible to do that this week. Like, even if you plug in, Khalil Herbert, I think is his name. I absolutely spelled his name wrong. Oh, no, I didn't. Yeah, I mean, even if you plug him in, like, you still have $3,600 per player remaining. You're going to have another super cheap punt running back. You're going to have 2 min-priced wide receivers for wide receiver and flex. You're going to have to play super cheap defense. Like, man, that's really, really hard. So I just don't know that that's feasible. I think it's going to be much better to go Tyler Heineke. Spell that right? No, of course not. Fuck you spell this dude's name. Taylor. Oh, Heineke. There you go. Yeah, I think it's much better to go like this and go Ricky Seals-Jones. Right? Like, that at least makes sense. And now you're spending, without Khalil Herbert, you're spending 24.4, bring back Tyreek Hill. Or you can go double wide receiver for Washington, or even single wide receiver if you think that Tyler Heineke is not going to be passing all that much. And then you could go Travis Kelsey. But, like, this is probably the way that I would do it. Rick Seals-Jones had a great market share last week for a tight end. So, like, doing something like this, I think makes a lot of sense. Like, you can't get away from the combination of Heineke and McLaurin. So, you're going to have to eat that one way or another. And I think that Tyreek Hill is fine. I think Travis Kelsey is fine. It's coin flip between Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelsey every single week. So, it's hard. Like, this game definitely is a game that you are going to want to pay attention to. I would love to have the Kansas City side, but it seems like you're going to have to stack the Washington side if you want a part of it, which kind of sucks because Washington doesn't project all that well. So I'm not sure how much interest I have in this game. It kind of depends on how much value I can find at wide receiver and if I can make that work, but it's going to be pretty hard. Jumping into the next one, we have Baltimore and the Chargers. So this game looks way more stackable to me, simply because you can do a skinny stack with Lamar Jackson and Marquise Brown, or Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews. You can make that work, or you can go with the other side, go Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen, and Mike Williams if Mike Williams plays. If Mike Williams does not play, then you're just going to use whoever the backup is there. I think that it is... who the hell is the backup there? Going to go down and isolate here. Yeah, Jalen Guiton. So, like, you just go Keenan Allen and Jalen Guiton if you're going to end up stacking the Chargers and there's no Mike Williams. If there is a Mike Williams, then it's just very easy. Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. bring it back to Marquise Brown, call it good. That's the highest upside that you can have from that game, and I really like that stack. It's pretty much guaranteed that I'm going to have a stack of one side of this or the other. I'll figure it out, and I'll put it in the notes tomorrow. Going into the next one, we have the Rams and I have to remember off the top of my head. I think it's the Giants, right? Why can I not remember? Yep, Giants. All right, so with the Rams and the Giants, I mean, you probably want to stack the Rams side and bring it back with just one of the Giants wide receivers. We should have Sterling Shepard back this week. I think Sterling Shepard probably ends up taking back the alpha responsibilities for this team. He does usually get fed when Daniel Jones is at quarterback. So with no Kenny Galladay, with no secondary wide receivers that are really worth a damn outside of Kadarius Toney, Sterling Shepard could see somewhere between like 11 and 13 targets here. So I don't mind going with the Ram stack, going Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, and Robert Woods, bringing it back with Sterling Shepard. I think the most likely thing that happens here is the Rams are able to control the ball. They want to run the ball when they're in the red zone. Darrell Henderson gets his opportunities. Sony Michel gets his opportunities. I do like Darrell Henderson quite a bit, but I do like stacking here as well. I'll prefer to stack the Rams side if I can afford it. Stacking the New York Giants side, you would have to go something like Daniel Jones, Sterling Shepard, and Kadarius Toney, and then bring it back with one of Cooper Kupp or Robert Woods and play Russian roulette on those two. So that's kind of a rough spot. I probably prefer Robert Woods, even though Cooper Kupp, I think, has a very, very good touchdown equity in that team. But I'll figure that out for notes tomorrow. I definitely have interest here, though. I do like using Daniel Jones. I think that his legs are a real weapon, especially with no Saquon Barkley. You got to think that they're going to let Daniel Jones run a little bit more than usual here because he's by far their best rusher with no Saquon Barkley back there. Going to the next game, we have Green Bay and the Bears. The Bears don't project well. They never project well. They're just not a very good offensive team. Green Bay is basically just Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams. You can certainly do a stack here. You can go Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, Randall Cobb, and bring it back with either Darnell Mooney or Allen Robinson. But I don't think that Justin Fields has looked good enough for me to trust him with my money, especially on a slate where it's pretty wide open, right? Like we talked about how we have all these over-unders that are pretty decent, and we have so many teams that look like they're worth stacking. I just don't know that I trust Chicago to be able to keep up. Khalil Herbert is going to be really popular this week, but I don't know if he should be, right? Like at 4,600, he's going to project fine. He's going to project for 12, but are they actually going to be able to score? Are they going to be able to move the ball well enough to like make him pay off? Is he going to be able to find a touchdown? Because he's going to need a touchdown in order to win you a GPP. So, like, I think he's going to be popular, but I don't know that he's going to be good chalk. So, I still need to figure that out. I'm leaning towards not using him tomorrow, just because he doesn't project as well as Alexander Mattison did last week. And I think that in this spot where Green Bay should have control and be able to do mostly whatever they want to do, I don't know if I want to prioritize a running back on the opposing team that I don't think is going to be on the field very much. So, I don't have a whole bunch of interest in the Chicago side. Probably my favorite player is Aaron Jones, just because I think that they are able to use him to his heart's content this week and kind of do whatever they want. But yeah, I mean, Devontae Adams, obviously a very good play too. We've got on this next one. We have Cincinnati and we have Detroit. And this is kind of another one where the projection is fine for Cincinnati. Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase is a great combination. Joe Burrow and T. Higgins has looked good at times. But, like, do I trust Detroit to actually bring anything back here that is going to be worthwhile? I don't know. And Cincinnati has shown that they really only want to pass the ball if they're forced to pass the ball. So can Detroit get a lead against Cincinnati and make Cincinnati actually want to pass the ball? I don't know. I don't think so. I think Cincinnati is a better team, but I think this game is going to be close, and I think that it's going to be really low scoring, and I just don't think that Detroit has the horsepower to push Cincinnati to their limits. So I'm mostly out on this game. I don't mind a secondary stack if you want to go Jamar Chase, TJ Hawkinson. I don't mind a secondary stack if you want to go Jamar Chase and DeAndre Swift even. Like, I even think that's fine, you know? So for the most part, like, this game doesn't really have much interest for me, but you know what does have interest in me? My family. Look, it's my baby, who is huge, and my fiance, who is beautiful. So they wanted to come say hello. Damascus wanted to show everybody how good he's getting at standing, which is pretty good. But yeah, so this is a little intermission. I guess I'll answer some questions here for a sec. And
I
then,
just came to tell you that I was going to go somewhere really quick. I'll be right back.
Oh, okay, cool. I love you. I'll see you after a bit. I'm not bullying you. Don't tell her things like that.
Who's bullying who?
I'm not bullying anybody.
Who's bullying who?
Zach is just lying. He's just trying to get you mad at me.
I can't domestic you on video. That's funny too. Anyway, love you. See you later.
Love you. Let's see. Okay, so any interest in Bateman with Watkins out, single sack, fade Brown, Andrews? I don't mind Bateman. I don't really like trusting rookie wide receivers, especially in their first game, and especially in a team that doesn't pass a lot. Like, he would have to, like, in GPPs, he's not going to win anybody a GPP, I don't think. Or at least be far outside of his regular range of outcomes to win anybody a GPP. I think that he will be kind of valuable, but this is like a look and see game. I don't think this is a game where I want to use Rashad Bateman. I just don't. See where he got the looks? Yeah, she's a babe. She's super attractive. You guys are awesome. I will let them know that you guys said hello when they get back. Burrow, Higgins, bring back St. Brown or the running back. Yeah, I don't mind it. What do I have Amon-Ra St. Brown projected for? I think it's pretty bad. Yeah, it's pretty bad. I have him projected for 7.3 with a ceiling of 15. I mean, I get it. I just don't love it. What do I have Hawkinson projected for? Hawkinson's a bit better, projected for 9 with a ceiling of 18. That's better, but he's still 5K. You know, like, why would you pay 5K for TJ Hawkinson when you should pay 5,200 for Mark Andrews? Like, why would you pay that for him when you can have Noah Fant for 4,800, when you have Dalton Schultz for 4,900? Like, why would I play TJ Hawkinson when all these guys are just so much better and just so much more valuable in their offenses? Why would you lie? Because fuck you. That's why. Add that to the counter. No concerns the Giants will limit D. Jones' runs after his concussion. Booker got a ton of work last week. No, the coaching staff actually came out and said that there would be no limitations. So I don't have any concerns. As usual, for me, I always want to just trust coaching staffs when they say shit. That bites me sometimes. Meredith, don't eat Bubby's food, you bitch. Thank you. Yeah, I don't have any worry about that. Booker got volume in PPR role, just worried versus Rams D. Yeah, I mean Booker should be fine. Like he should be fine. But even with Booker projected where he's at, where do I have Booker projected? I assume not well. Yeah, I project for 10.5, stealing is 16. Again, it's just kind of the same problem that I have with Khalil Herbert. It's like you take these running backs who are large underdogs against teams that can control the clock and move the ball well, and it's like, where are they supposed to find their upside? You know, they have to break off these like 50-yard or like 35-yard chunk runs, and you just shouldn't count on stuff like that. I suppose that his floor is okay with the receiving work that he got last week, but I don't know. I don't think that it's... I just don't love it all that much. I get it, but I don't love it. Like, I'd rather use... For the money, Devontae Booker is 5,400. Like, I'd rather use Chase Edmonds. I'd rather use Chuba Hubbard. I'd rather use Melvin Gordon if he plays. I'd rather use Jamal Williams, who has a higher ceiling. Jerick McKinnon has a higher ceiling. You know, we have the Damian Williams situation or the Clyde Edwards-Helaire situation where he's out. Like, there's so many other running backs that I'd just rather use. Devontae Booker in an offense where they like to pass the ball and they're huge underdogs, just don't love it. All right, let's jump back in. Now that Margaret's gone, she can't bother me anymore. Haha. Yeah. No, she's awesome. We'll go on to the next game. So we already talked about the Chargers. I like the Chargers a lot in this spot. I don't mind using them as a stack. I don't mind using Baltimore as a stack. I think both ways about it are going to be just fine. It mostly just depends on what you want to stack and how your stacks work out. Denver. Okay, so Denver and Las Vegas, neither one of them necessarily project all that well. Like, Denver projects pretty well. They have projected actually pretty well for a couple weeks now, and it's mostly on the back of Cortland Sutton, who's an absolute fucking rock star. He kind of brings the entire offense up with him in terms of DFS projections. So I don't want to stack Denver, but again, like, they haven't looked terrible, and they've been okay for fantasy because Cortland Sutton's been so good. So, like, stacking Teddy Bridgewater with Cortland Sutton and Tim Patrick and bringing it back with Darren Waller is not the worst thing in the world. Do I prefer a secondary stack? Of course. Of course I prefer just Cortland Sutton bringing back with Darren Waller. Of course I prefer just Cortland Sutton bringing it back with Henry Ruggs. What I would more prefer is a Las Vegas stack with Derek Carr, Darren Waller, and Henry Ruggs and bring it back with Cortland Sutton. I think that Las Vegas is a better team than the Broncos. I think that they should end up being in spots where they're going to have to pass here. And they have wanted to pass. If you look at their splits, like, Las Vegas is not as high as they were to start the season, but they are still a top 10 team in terms of adjusted pass percentage, 67%. They have been running more since Josh Jacobs has gotten back. Only 56% of the time they're passing in the red zone, but they're still a team that is going to be able to pass and find upside through their options. Like, they have good pass catchers. They have Darren Waller, who's an elite tight end and is good for secondaries. So I'm probably not going to be stacking this game, but I certainly think that using Cortland Sutton with Darren Waller is a way that I would actually like to go, and I probably will go. Like, Cortland Sutton's going to be fucking 1% again in the power sweep, and he gets fed, and he's so good, man. He's so good. Teddy Bridgewater was able to support top 20 wide receivers last year. There's no reason why Cortland Sutton can't continue to be a top 15 option on the year this year and continue to be fantasy relevant. So Washington, already talked about them. I think you have to stack Washington if you're going to stack this game. I just don't see a way to stack Kansas City and bring it back with anything. Like, I guess you can go Carter. I guess you can go Ricky Seals-Jones. But for the most part, like, Washington is just the more effective stack. Arizona. So I'm going to be avoiding Arizona this week, as well as Cleveland, obviously. Arizona has been off my radar for a couple weeks now, right? They're just not a team that's good for fantasy. And I think that while they are a better real-life team, and while Kyler Murray is a better real-life quarterback, him not just zoning in on DeAndre Hopkins and making it work is bad for fantasy. So Arizona is a stack that I am just not going to want to be interested in, especially against a Cleveland team that, overall, like, they just want to run the fucking ball. They don't want to pass the ball. They're not really all that effective at passing the ball. So, yeah, I just don't have a lot of interest in this game. Also, take the under on it. Like, the over-under opened at 52, has already been bet way down. Like, you can pretty much just take the under on Cleveland games, and, like, that's good. That's probably going to be, like, a winning thing over the course of the year. So, yeah, just take the under on that game. I don't like that game. See that Mr. Shelton has showed up. Whatever James said about Cincinnati is a lie. It's an amazing place with great chili. Skyline chili is an abomination, dude. Like, it looks like the least appetizing thing on the planet. Maybe less appetizing than peanut M&Ms. Maybe. There he is. D-Shell was so negative. Dude, no. I mean, I wasn't even that negative. Cincinnati just, like, they're boring. They're a boring team. They don't want to pass the ball. They want to run the ball. So, yeah, I've never had it because why the fuck would I want it, Shelton? It looks terrible. It looks like a Yeti threw up its dinner into a fucking snow mound and then took a shit on it. All right? That's what Skyline chili looks like. So, no, I've never had it. I don't want it. Keep it away from me. I don't want it. Terrible. Yeah, baby poop on a mop head. That's exactly what it looks like. It looks like you fed a baby carrots, and then it pooped all over a mop, and then you just took that mop and you put it in a box. That's what it looks like. Skyline chili does not look appetizing. Does not sound appetizing. It's a Skyline chili. Fucking awful. Awful. Yeah, just, no. Terrible. Tragic. You disgust me. Disgust me. All right. We're going to jump back in. Minnesota. So, Minnesota and Carolina. Carolina does not project exceptionally well. They both project right here, right in this middle, 43, 42. Minnesota has gotten some juice. Started out as underdogs, now favorites. I think that bodes better for Dalvin Cook than it does for Minnesota stacks overall. But there's some juice in this game, right? So Justin Jefferson and Robbie Anderson is going to win somebody a GPP this week. I don't know if it's going to be a Minnesota-Carolina stack, but like Justin Jefferson and Robbie Anderson is going to win somebody a GPP this week. Because Robbie Anderson is like, it's his time. It's going to happen this week. He's had, his opportunity has not been bad. DJ Moore has just been reaping the benefits overall. So like, I think this is Robbie Anderson week. I'm calling my shot. Him and Justin Jefferson win somebody a GPP this week. Hopefully it's me. Hopefully. I don't know if I want to stack this game. If I do, I'm going to stack Carolina side, and here's why. Carolina loves using Sam Darnold in the red zone. Like, loves letting him just rush as much as he wants in the red zone. He is very likely to have a rushing touchdown again. Using him with Robbie Anderson and bringing it back with Justin Jefferson, I think is a very unique and interesting way to stack this game. If I don't do that, then I'd go Kirk Cousins, Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, and bring back Robbie Anderson. The Earth Nation, hello. I'm sorry that it took so long for me to respond to you. I see that you said hi, and then I was in a spiel, and I wanted to finish my spiel, but hello, I hope you're having a great day. D-Shell, bring 15 cans to Colorado. Fucking bring it, dude. Bring it. And I will flush them down to the toilet somehow. I don't know how. I'm going to have to buy a new toilet, but I'm going to flush all 15 cans down the toilet where they belong. Just where they belong. All right, going to this next one. So, I already talked about Carolina, like I said, in this most recent little tidbit. I prefer stacking Carolina side, but mostly I just want access to Robbie Anderson and Justin Moore. Or Justin Jefferson. That's mostly just what I want. Dallas. So, Dallas and New England, neither one projects well, and it's because Dallas has been running the ball really effectively and passing a lot less often, and New England is New England and super conservative. I don't have any interest in stacking this game. I think that people are going to want to stack this game, but I don't really have interest in it. What I do have interest in is Jacoby Myers, who last week, smart people were like, oh, Jacoby Myers has never scored a touchdown. He's got to score a touchdown this week. And then he didn't score a touchdown. But this week, he's scoring a touchdown. It's going to happen. So, Jacoby Myers and CeeDee Lamb, I think, is a very good combination. I think Jacoby Myers and Dalton Schultz is a very good combination. But just focus on Jacoby Myers here. He's the only player that you give a shit about for New England. Secondary stacks look very good on this spot. I think that makes a lot of sense. You could even go Jacoby Myers and Ezekiel Elliott if you wanted to. But I think Jacoby Myers is a very good play this week in the same way that I think Robbie Anderson. Like, I'm pretty much just sure of those two this week. But I don't want to actually stack this game. Stacking, I guess if you wanted to, you would start with the Dallas side. You go like Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, and Dalton Schultz and bring it back to Jacoby Myers. But just don't fucking play Mac Jones. Like, if you tuned into the Roto-Grinders show this week, I had an argument with Blender about fucking using Mac Jones. Like, don't use Mac Jones. Come on. Las Vegas, already talked about. Indianapolis, want nothing to do with them. They activated T.Y. Hilton this week. It should hurt the entire offense in terms of DFS. They faced fucking Houston. I don't want anything to do with Houston. I suppose you could do like a Michael Pittman, Brandon Cook secondary stack, but nothing else. Giants, already talked about. Cleveland, already talked about. Chicago, already talked about. Detroit, already talked about. We have talked about all the games. Talked about every single game. Basically, closing thoughts here in terms of stacks. I am likely most interested in the Baltimore Chargers game and the Rams-Giants game. I do really like the Washington-Kansas City game. I would like to have access to it if I can afford it. I don't know if I can afford it. I think that it's very unlikely that I'll be able to afford it. So, when I'm looking at all of this and I'm looking and seeing Well, I like that Robbie Anderson, Justin Jefferson secondary, and I really like the Jacoby Myers and CeeDee Lamb secondary, and I like these secondaries that are relatively expensive. So I need to have a stack that allows it, and I don't really like the super cheap running backs, so I'm going to have mid-range running backs that allow my stack to work, and it's going to be a very mid-range week for me, almost assuredly. I think it's going to be very easy to fade the chalk of Khalil Herbert and Devontae Booker. I think that both of them are not necessarily all that good of plays. I'd rather focus on some better talents and some better spots at running back that are still slightly underpriced. The only games that I really don't want any exposure to are going to be is this Indianapolis Colts and Houston game. I just think that's fucking tire fire. And then outside of Devontae Adams, I don't really want any part of the Green Bay and Chicago game. Maybe I want Aaron Jones if I can afford him. I doubt that I'll be able to. And then this Detroit and Cincinnati game. Yeah, Jamar Chase and TJ Hawkinson, I guess, but I don't really want any parts of it all that much. So, yeah, those are my thoughts on stacks this week. This week is nuts with all the running back injuries. How am I approaching running back this week? Mid-range, probably. It's hard because the stacks. I mean, the pricing is actually really, really good this week on DraftKings. You do have to make some pretty tough decisions, and I haven't even read contests yet because I'm still trying to think about I don't know. It's hard. The pricing is really good this week, so I think that there are some traps. Like I said, I think that Khalil Herbert is kind of a trap. I think that Devontae Booker is kind of a trap. It's going to be kind of difficult to use them and have confidence in them, but there are some other spots that I like. So let's just go talk about running back really quick because I am getting a lot of questions on it. And I think that it's worth talking about. So let's jump in. We'll zoom in here. There we go. All right, so Kareem Hunt, probably the best running back play on the slate, right? I mean, projects the best, 21. He's only 6,200. He has a floor 36. It's a really, really good spot. 29% chance to finish with a top overall score. I'm going to be hard-pressed not to use Kareem Hunt. I think he's an exceptional play this week. Going down, it's kind of rough. I'm going to want to prioritize Kareem Hunt. I think that Chuba Hubbard is a really, really good option. Even if I think that, maybe he's a little thin. 5,900, I guess we're getting up there. I wouldn't pay more than about 6,500 for him. So 5,900, only slightly underpriced. DeAndre Swift is a good option. I'm mostly going to be living in this range of probably 5,500 to 6,600-ish. And Jonathan Taylor, I think, is even kind of thin. And the only reason why I say that is because I don't know how they're actually going to utilize him since they still have Marlon Mack and they like to use Marlon Mack. So, I don't know. It's kind of rough this week. If we're looking at it, from a ceiling perspective, the running backs are Kareem Hunt, Dalvin Cook, Aaron Jones, Ezekiel Elliott, and Chuba Hubbard. And also Darrell Henderson. I think Darrell Henderson is actually a pretty good option. He's going to be 22% owned, but he is a pretty good option. Chuba Hubbard at 1% owned I think is better. If we're looking for upside, let's just look at 4x percentage. So sort by that, we have Kareem Hunt, Chuba Hubbard, Jerick McKinnon. Jerick McKinnon is a really, really interesting option for Kansas City. We don't really know who is going to be the main guy for Kansas City, and I think that he's a pretty interesting option. Darrell Henderson and Khalil Herbert. So, like I said, I'm just really not into Khalil Herbert. Notice that Devontae Booker, he's not even showing up when I'm sorting by these things. He's projecting way down here. If we look at leverage, Kareem Hunt, Dalvin Cook, Chuba Hubbard. So it looks like I'm going to have a lot of Chuba Hubbard based on every metric that I actually care about. Aaron Jones, Ezekiel Elliott. Antonio Gibson is not a bad option at 6,500. I think that most people are going to be stacking that game, right? So Antonio Gibson is a pretty interesting option to fully leverage the field. I don't think he's going to be over 10% owned, and at 6,500, he definitely has a chance of being in the winning lineup. So Antonio Gibson, not a bad option. DeAndre Swift is showing up a lot. I don't mind DeAndre Swift. At 16% owned. I don't love it. Jamal Williams is probably a better play. Projects for 3 points less and 3 points less ceiling, but should be basically not owned at all. So I don't mind him either. I think that what it comes down to this week is you mostly just want to be avoiding like Khalil Herbert and Darrell Williams. Like, Darrell Williams does not project well enough to be 17% owned. Josh Jacobs does not project well enough to be 14% owned. Like, avoiding the chalk and avoiding the landmines, I think, at running back is more important than anything else this week. Because the high-priced guys project well. Maybe the answer is to take Dalvin Cook and Ezekiel Elliott and then play a cheaper stack. Maybe the answer is take Kareem Hunt and Chuba Hubbard and just, like, hope that the rest of the chalk fails. I think the big thing is mostly just, like, fade the chalk. That's mostly how I want to go about it. Thoughts on Chase Swift's secondary stack? Yeah, I don't mind it. I think that Swift is a fine option. Any interest in McKissick as a run back on a KC premium stack, or is that too thin? Yeah, it's too thin. I think it's too thin. Like at 4,800, why wouldn't I just play Jamal Williams? Why wouldn't I play Melvin Gordon? Why wouldn't I play Darrell Williams? Why wouldn't I play, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? What am I doing with Hardman, Gordon, if Hill out? I'll play Hardman. Like, almost positively, I'll play Hardman. Hardman is like the direct backup to Tyreek Hill, so it would be Hardman. I don't mind Gordon, though. Everyone on their mother is on Henderson. Yeah, Henderson is a good play. But I like stacking that game is the thing. So, like, I probably will have a Ram stack simply to leverage the Henderson chalk, I think. But I don't mind Henderson as a play. I think he's a good play. It's just like we saw the week before as well that they're not afraid to give Sony Michel the goal line work if he's in there. If he's in there on the 2-minute drill or if he's in there on the drive, they'll give him the work instead of Darrell Henderson. I don't think that Darrell Henderson is some smash play. I think he's good. I don't think he's a smash play. You like Jamal Williams of fading Herbert Darrell. I also like Jamal Williams. Javonte Booker, Javonte Williams, I like Melvin Gordon more. I think that Javonte is fine, but Melvin Gordon gets the red zone work. Eckler can give you a good piece. Eckler Brown secondary stack is nice to me. Yeah, I don't mind that at all. Eckler's fine. They don't run the ball enough, but he's fine. Like he's super fucking expensive. I would rather have Aaron Jones or Ezekiel Elliott over Austin Eckler. I very, 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 very much doubt that I'm going to be paying $7,900 for Austin Eckler with stacks that I want to go with and the secondary stacks that I want. So if you need Austin Eckler this week, I'm not going to have a chance in GPPs. All right, let's go over some chalk and let's go over some leverage and let's get the fuck out of here, man. It's been an hour. We got shit to do today, homies. We got dinner to eat. We got fucking things to fucking do. All right. So let's do the zoom in thing again here. So if we are looking at chalk, so this is overall. Actually, no, let's not do overall. Do QB. So projected ownership on quarterbacks. Top looks like it's going to be Lamar Jackson, followed by Patrick Mahomes, followed by Tyler Heineke. I don't mind any of that. Teddy Bridgewater, though, projects pretty well at only 2% ownership. 5,700, he's right there next to Tyler Heineke. Should be nothing owned, with Tyler Heineke being much more owned. So Denver stacks might look better than Washington stacks. We'll see how that goes. But the ceilings that you're looking at here, the only quarterbacks that actually have the ceilings that matter here are going to be Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes. Going to be very, very hard to beat their ceilings. Medians, that's another question. We have Matthew Stafford with an 8% chance to be a top overall finisher. We have Teddy Bridgewater at 4. We have Carson Wentz at 2. We have some guys here. So overall, though, the chalk looks how you would expect. Running back. We just talked about running back, but let's take a look at the chalk. Chalk looks like it's going to be Darrell Henderson, followed by Jonathan Taylor, followed by Darrell Williams. So the main piece of chalk that we don't like is going to be Darrell Williams. Josh Jacobs and Devontae Booker as well, those look like plays to fade. If we're looking at LevX here, -11 LevX on Darrell Williams, fade that. -13 on Josh Jacobs, fade that. -11 on Devontae Booker, fade that. Outside of those three, you can pretty much play whoever you want at running back. It's not going to really affect your leverage all that much. So long as you fade those three, I think that you can't really have a wrong answer at running back so long as they're projected well. when we're looking at medians, Kareem Hunt, Dalvin Cook, Aaron Jones, Ezekiel Elliott, Chuba Hubbard. I think that, like, I'm going to be on a pretty, heavy rock here with Chuba Hubbard. He's going to be my biggest stand, I think. Or if I go with Teddy Bridgewater stack, who the fuck knows? He projected pretty well. So, but these are the guys that look the best. Kareem Hunt, Dalvin Cook, Aaron Jones, Ezekiel Elliott, Chuba Hubbard. Going into wide receivers. Let's go over here. Top overall projected is always Devontae Adams. He's just always going to be there. Followed by Tyreek Hill at 25, and those are the guys that have, the highest overall ceilings, highest overall projections, highest overall floors. And then we have Jamar Chase, interestingly, 6,700, followed by Cooper Kupp, and then Cortland Sutton, who, again, should be basically nothing owned, again this week, and then Terry McLaurin. No real surprises here, I don't think. Wide receivers projected pretty, earnestly. Looking at chalk, Devontae Adams, heavy chalk at 9,000. I don't even know how people are going to afford that. I think he comes in way lower than 22%, just because I don't know how people are going to afford to stack him, or people are going to afford to have him. If people are going to have Lamar Jackson, if people are going to have Patrick Mahomes, if people are going to have Tyreek Hill, I just don't see how you can afford Devontae Adams. It doesn't make sense. So I think he's going to be 10% or less. The main piece of chalk up here that starts getting shaky is Jacoby Myers, but I do really, really like him this week. The ones that you would fade are going to be Sterling Shepard and Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper basically always ends up drawing ownership, but shouldn't. He's just really not that involved in the offense. He really doesn't look that good. It's an offense that doesn't like to pass all that much. So Amari Cooper is probably the worst chalk on the slate, I think. Sterling Shepard, I could be low on him, but the Giants don't project to score that many points. So like I said, I think that he can take back the alpha role, but I don't know that he will. So I think he's fine. I don't think that he's all that bad, but I'm probably going to end up fading him simply because of a really bad LevX and a pretty bad median. The only way that I would have him is as a secondary stack or as a bring back. I wouldn't be playing him as a one-off, and probably not even a secondary stack, honestly. Am I high on OBJ? No, I don't think so. No, I'm not. He only projects 12. Cleveland just doesn't like to pass that much. Let's jump into tight ends, and then we'll answer some questions, and we'll get the fuck out of here. Travis Kelce always projects the highest. Projects for 18, ceiling of 30. LevX is very good, even though the projected ownership is high. It's impossible for him to have negative leverage because he always projects the best. After him, we have a couple guys that project well. Darren Waller, Mark Andrews, Noah Fant, Darren Schultz, and TJ Hawkinson before you start dropping down into these guys that have ceilings lower than 15 fantasy points. You can use pretty much any of those guys. Doesn't really matter. When we sort by projected ownership, the only guy you're fading here is Rookie Seals-Jones. That's it. Point blank, period. He projects very, very badly, and I actually want to go in and look at his baselines because he probably shouldn't project this badly. But interestingly, the models hate him. So maybe there will be an update to that tomorrow. I'll just check in on the models and check in on the notes tomorrow morning. As of now, though, he's the only guy that you would want to fade. He just looks like a shit terrible play and not something that I would want. Outside of that, you can pretty much play anybody that you want at tight end. Doesn't matter. Most of the time with tight end, though, you're going to be pairing it into your stack or a secondary stack of an elite tight end. Punting tight end is for fucking the squares, so don't do that. All right. Answer a couple questions. Man, it's getting dark. Getting dark. I need those lights on behind me. Gordon, questionable chance they limit him. Javonte gets decent volume. Maybe. I mean, if they say they're going to limit him, then they'll limit him. I'm not going to make assumptions on that. Higgins at 5.3, damn, feels cheap. Yeah, I think he should be at 6K wide receiver. I think that Higgins, how much is the ownership difference between him and Chase? Because if it's high, T. Higgins is a really good play. Oh, no, T. Higgins is going to be higher on than Jamar Chase. All right. Well, that kills that idea. Let's see. Komet at 2.8 Gs. And it's Cole Komet. Does Lamar need double or single stack? Single. Although he's been passing a lot. I think you could get away with Marquise Brown and Mark Andrews. Or you could do Rashad Bateman and Mark Andrews if you wanted to. I think that's fine. He has actually been passing a lot. But it looked good last week. Ran many routes, got end zone looks. Yeah. I don't actually. Hold on. I'm going to check that really quick. Let's go take a look at Ricky Seals-Jones in the old baselines here. Have Ricky Seals-Jones. Market share. That's the problem. Yeah, I mean, it's just pretty hard to give him, like, a decent market share. I guess that you could take the market share away from DeAndre Carter and give it to him, which would put him at a projection of, like, 7 fantasy points. Maybe I'll do that. I don't know. What did he look like in terms of his air yards and targets last week? We'll take a look at this together. Team comp. Yeah, it was pretty good. I'll probably adjust him up. I don't know. The hard part is that DeAndre Carter had 20% of the market share as well. And, like, they're losing Curtis Samuel. So, I don't know. I think that Ricky Seals-Jones, like, he's going to be fine in terms of projection. I think he's probably going to project, like, let's see, where is he? He projects for 3 now. My guess is he's probably going to project somewhere in the 6 fantasy point range with a ceiling of something like 13 maybe. So he's going to be up here. He's still going to be negative. He's still going to be a bad play, but he's not going to be like a total fade play, you know? So I think that he's probably going to look better. And yeah, so he had 20% of the market share, right? But the problem is that, like, Washington has not been a team that has been super pass heavy in the red zone, only 55%. So when you go into the Vegas baselines and, like, we look at Washington, they're only projected for 1.46 passing touchdowns, 1.2 rushing touchdowns. So, like, they just don't have that high of an upside in terms of passing touchdowns, and that's where the projection really takes a hit. Is just like, even though he has a high market share of the touchdowns, they're just not projected to score very many. So that's the thing. Anyway, this has been great. This has been good. It's getting dark. You can barely see my face. I'm going to be ending the stream now, but thank you guys so much for tuning in. It's going to be another good week. I feel really good about this week. I feel pretty locked in. Had a really good sweat last week. It was top 5 in the power sweep until like 30 minutes before the slate ended, and then I dropped down to like 18th. So pretty excited for this week. Feel pretty locked in. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out in the Discord or on Twitter. I try to answer anything that I can on Twitter and in the Discord, of course. If you're not already subscribed over at paydfs.com, go subscribe. We have every fucking sport under the sun. So thank you guys again for tuning in. I'll talk to you guys later, and let's go make some bread.